Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is a hopefully interesting Zane's View. This video is on what happened to the Usos. I'll probably put that in the title. What happened? Now, I said in my SmackDown review that I didn't understand why the Usos had the job to Damien Sandow and Cody Rhodes, the Rhodes Scholars. I like the Rhodes Scholars, and they look like they may become a very great tag team if they're pushed right. But the problem I saw was the Usos, who have been around longer than most of the tag teams that are going to be participating in the tournament, since SmackDown it looks like it's going to be holding the tournament. I don't understand why the Usos have not been allowed to actually carry the tag team straps. So for the last couple of days, I've been trying to figure that out. Trying to look in some websites. Excuse me. I've gone to at least 10 or 15 websites and looked at their forums, and going to some of these sports websites as well. See anything that is related to the Usos. That's what I did my search on. And in general, almost every search I found was either about the Usos, what they can do to become tag team champions, or some very old basic descriptions about what the Usos were doing before. Maybe 2009, 2010 when they were in FCW, and what they were doing in the WWE. I mean, for SmackDown or Raw, when they first appeared on Raw. I mean, I've seen information on that, but nothing about what caused them to end up like this. So I had to come up with my own assumptions of what it could be. Now, the wiki I'm going to be leaving in the description box, that has the most detailed information I could find. It may not be fully detailed. It's actually quite small compared to other wrestlers and tag teams, but at least it's detailed enough to tell what happened in NXW, in FCW, going to Raw, going to SmackDown, and pretty much what they've been dealing with. I mean, with Joshua and Jonathan, basically the most I could see if they were being penalized would be Jonathan around 2010, and he had a DWI charge because he drove the opposite way on a one-way street in Tampa, Florida. Now that's supposed to be up to court in 2013. Didn't really give a date of that. But essentially speaking, it's not something any other wrestler's done. There have been some wrestlers done way worse than that, and they're not doing anything other than that. Of course, if anyone else knows what's going on, you can leave it in the comments about what the hell's going on with the Usos. But this is my assumption. Since the Usos come from Rikishi's their dad, and essentially Rikishi has connections to Yokozuna, he has connections to The Rock, he has connections to Alpha, he has connections to Superfly Jimmy Snuka, the Tonga Kid, the Wild Samoans, which is Alpha, he's in that. Essentially, his family has dominated most of the decades in the WWF leading up to WWE. They have made great stars. Look at Umaga, that's another relative. Unfortunately, he died when he was very young in, I think, 2006, I believe, or 2007. But essentially speaking, you have a dominant family line in wrestling, like the Harts. And this is another team I don't get. What happened to David Hart Smith? And I understand what some people said back in 2010 when, in the middle of 2010, they won the straps, that David Hart Smith doesn't really have that much charisma. He really doesn't have that much personality. But neither did Bret Hart. And Bret Hart, when he first started in the early 80s, when he teamed up with Jim the Anvil Neidhart, Jim was the one who was speaking most of the time. And when they won the straps, it wasn't like he had a personality then either. Not until he went and did singles work. And then he started working with Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Mr. Bob Backlund. There goes a good man, Mr. Bob Backlund, who's been screwed by WWE as well. And anyone else that has been working. the Dynamite Kid, no, not the Dynamite Kid, the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith. I don't know why I said Dynamite Kid. I actually like the Dynamite Kid. But essentially, all those people, they worked with a man who had no charisma, no character. And David Hart Smith was the same thing. They gave them the straps, but then David Hart Smith was released. Now look at the Usos, and this is what it's all about. The Usos, and from what I've seen they appeared on NXT. They've appeared mainly on Superstars. They get a huge pop, especially when it came to their theme song, when they did their Samoan dance. I love it, the Slag Daddies loves it, and a lot of people love it. They get a huge pop. They're good wrestlers. They're not great, but they are good. And the thing that kills me, Primo Epico, who came in several months after 2011, and his cousin, Primo, became tag team champions. You got Air Boom. They became tag team champions after being together maybe about less than a month. Kofi and R-Truth, and this is what it comes to. Kofi is the only person I've seen that has held the straps more than anybody in the last 3 or 4 years. At least 3 years. He's the one that held the straps the longest because he worked in Air Boom, he worked at R-Truth, I believe he worked with Ray at one point, then he worked with someone else. Come on. How come everyone else gets a shot but the Usos? They've got the 5 tools, both of them. They don't have a bad physique, either one of them. They look like basic Samoans. And Samoans, over the years, have had a certain look. Either they've been extremely heavy, like with the Wild Samoans and Rikishi and Yokozuna and Umaga, or they look chiseled like The Rock, the Tonga Kid. So they're in between that little area where they would look good enough for the people, which the people like them. So they have physique. When it comes to mic skills, from what I understand, I've heard a couple of times, they're not bad on the mic. They have some decent mic skills. In-ring presence. They got good in-ring presence. They may not be ring generals in the tag team division, but they're good enough that the people like their work. Telling a story, they can tell a great story. And charisma. They got charisma. They practically ooze it. So what is the problem? Could it be that, like some people say, what happened with Natalya when she was doing the fart gimmick, which was the most stupidest thing and so disrespectful to the Hart family? Whose coffee did Natalya piss in to get her to be screwed so badly, to job and then do that fart gimmick? Sorry, I'm a little sick. And also, for the Usos, who did they piss off? Whose Kool-Aid did they piss in to piss off someone in the back? Did they piss off John Laurinaitis? Did they piss off Triple H? Because from what I understand, Triple H, the tag team division is his baby right now because he's already put Rey Mysterio and Sin Cara together. He put the Rogue Scholars together, which is Cody Rhodes and Damien Sandow. He put the primetime players there, and everybody else has had a shot at those titles. If AEW had not pretty much pissed someone off for what he said on his Twitter, because they forced Twitter down the wrestlers' throats. They required them to use it. Instead of just doing it on the spur of the moment where they would get a lot of better performance out of it, they're forced to use Twitter every day. It's a force. It's not something they think about. They have to do it. And a lot of times I understand it's actually scripted. They got to say what they're told to say. Unless they try to be more sporadic like what happened. Spontaneous, not sporadic. Spontaneous like AW was, and he got booted out. Essentially, the primetime players would have already carried the straps already for the last couple of months. They would have had it. Instead of Daniel Bryan and Kane, they would have had it first. And there's Daniel Bryan and Kane. There goes another one. This is how it's been going. Everyone gets their shot but the Usos. I believe that something happened maybe last year, around maybe the time of WrestleMania, between WrestleMania 27 to WrestleMania 28, something happened to the Usos that they had been basically made irrelevant. And I don't think it's because of what happened with Tamina going off to work with Santino, because she did at one point. Something they did, or something that was said, that basically has forced the Usos to be completely irrelevant, and they're the best tag team, and I'm saying this at this moment. I'm not saying the Rogue Scholars cannot become the great tag team. No. They will become a great tag team when they're pushed right. Reigns and Cara, right now, they're barely seen, but they can become a great tag team before they break off and actually have their match by WrestleMania 29. That will eventually happen. The primetime players could actually go up. Primo and Epico could actually go up. They could become better. Even though they won the straps before, they've never really been pushed properly. They had no storylines, nothing. So essentially, something happened between 27 and 28 WrestleManias that screwed them over lovely. It wasn't like most people that would be pushed for a little bit and then basically the rug would be pulled from under them. I feel like it was a little more than that. Not saying it didn't happen. They reached the point by the time of WrestleMania 28, I believe, that they had the rug pulled out from under them. But something was decided between 27 and 28, between SummerSlam, between Hell in a Cell, and all the others, that something the Usos either said or did made them become screwed. And they've been screwed lovely. Particularly what happened on the September 28th, when they had this new tournament, that they were the first ones to job. I said in my video, why in the hell did the Usos have to job? It could have been Tyson Kidd and Justin Gabriel. They could have jobbed. They've only been teamed together a couple of times on Raw and SmackDown. They've been teamed more than enough on Superstars, yes, but it doesn't mean they could not have jobbed here. So I don't get it. That is what I'm thinking. That they did something to piss someone off. They allowed them to have their little run. Sorry, really, I'm a little sick. And then not only did they pull the rug from under them, they left them flat. So what can they do to go back up and actually win the straps? This is several things that I read on the forums. One, have Rikishi as their manager. That's one great thing they can do. Let Rikishi come back and let him manage them. Two, allow the Usos, if they had not lost the first match of the new tournament, let them reach near the end. Like they usually do, they always reach near the end and they're not allowed to do anything. But let them have a storyline with the ones who would face Daniel Bryan and Kane. Let them have a storyline against the ones that would win the tournament or against Daniel Bryan and Kane. Let them attack them. At least then they would stand a chance to start some type of storyline saying, look, we just like with Wade Barrett saying, I have been treated irrelevantly, I deserve better. The Usos could go through that same storyline and they could have started something from there. That's just two ideas. There's several others I've read. I can't really get off the top of my head. But essentially that's a possibility. The best one would be for Rikishi to come back. Because if the WWE pushed it like that, no one's going to just let Rikishi not get over. Rikishi is too well loved by the people. Way too well loved. And you just can't leave it that way. If it was going to be anyone else than Rikishi, who could it be? You could have brought back Asa or Sika. You could have brought back, unfortunately, that the Tonga kid's really not into that kind of stuff, I understand anymore. And unfortunately, Umaga as well as Yokozuna have passed on, which is very regrettable. The only other person I can consider that would be the best would be The Rock. Now, I'm not saying The Rock would do something like that, but honestly, it would be something interesting. If The Rock came back only as a manager, not as a wrestler, it would really be something interesting. You never have to worry about The Rock getting hurt because he can still go off and do his movies. He can come back and still manage. That would be good. That would be something entirely different. Because they already tried to Tamina angle, it didn't work. And they just let Tamina go off into the Divas, and as you know, the Divas are a disaster right now. It's sad, but essentially they've already tried this. Now this is my view on it. I believe with Joshua, and Jonathan, the Uso brothers, they have been badly treated. And they are, in my assessment, one of the best tag teams right now that is functioning properly for the WWE. That's my belief right now. Every other tag team right now, they have been thrown together at the last minute for maybe last couple of months. The Usos have been together more than 4 years. They deserve better than this. And that's what I believe. I hope one day they get the straps because they deserve it. Now, I hope you enjoyed the Zane's View. Subscribe and comment. I will be getting to my Raw review as soon as possible. I hope you like it. And you have a good day.